Okay, my first question in the morning. Can everybody hear me? That's my first question. Can everyone hear me right now? Because for some strange reason, I have absolutely no sound whatsoever coming out of my speaker. Yep. Okay, you guys can hear me. For some strange reason, I cannot hear my. Normally, I have my sound coming out of the speaker, and I have no idea why it's not functioning. That is weird. Good morning. Hi. Hello. And how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to Front Porch Brunch. A fun little thing that we do here on the weekends. We get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try to solve all the problems of the world. Well, at least as many as we've got the ability to do. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the fine fella in the fedora. Sometimes I am known as the beau in the chapeau, and on occasion I'm referred to as the common man with common sense. We're just bringing it to you here on the weekend. Hopefully you've got your first cup of coffee, your first cup of tea, you've poured the first mimosa, I don't know what you've done to help you wake up this morning, but hopefully you've got that in hand or you've got it down your gullet. And we'll get right down to it. Glad to see all y'all. Let's see who's here right now. This is going to be interesting. I tell you what, let's start on the Rumble side. Looks like the OG Wingnuts are in the house. WWG1 is here. TBA says, good howdy, Fedora Nation. TBA also says, am I distracted at the moment? I might have to watch the rerun of this episode. Well, TBA, do what you got to do, brother, because you know we're always here for you, and we're glad you're in the house. Zippy is here, doing his cat-like things that he does. Don't ask me to explain that, folks. It's just Zippy. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, indeed. Very interesting. All right, let's see who's over on the YouTube side. Good morning, Miss Gypsy. Glad to have you here. Mwah! Good morning, darling. One of my favorite crazy Canadians, Adam's in the house. Good morning and shalom to the porch peeps. Indeed. Lovely Lana is here. Mwah. All right. Good morning. Good morning, my dear. My gosh. All these good-looking women. The Duke is in the house. Hello, Duke. Let's see. Who else be here? Who else be here so far? Zippy's here. Okay. Looks like we got a full contingent so far, and the others will saunter on in as is appropriate. Glad to have you guys here this morning for Front Porch Brunch. The all third Railify's here in the house over on the Rumble side. Good morning, Sean. How you doing out there, partner? Man, you are getting a lot of love out there in social media, my friend. I'm seeing stuff on Twitter all the time. So yes, we're glad to have you here, sir. Definitely glad to have you here. Let's see who else is in the house so far. I think we got about everybody. Oh, it is, as always, it has been an absolutely crazy week. Just straight crazy. Goodness me. But glad to have you all here. And it's the weekend. We can stop. We can take a deep breath. And remember to let it out. Okay, so... oh my gosh, a lot has happened this week, and we're going to get into some of it. Some of it indeed. So yeah, lots to talk about this morning. So we're looking forward to having you guys here with us as we go through it. Looking forward to all your comments. Sean says, all I need is your love, Brian. Well, you know, Sean, you've got all my love and then some, but you know, your wife might have some objections to that. So just saying. Anyway, before I get marital problems started, good God. Anyhow, glad to have you guys here in the house this morning. And yeah, we got quite a few things to go over and quite a few memes to go through. Many have been provided by WWG1 and many provided by others. And you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I need to grab. Give me 1 second here, folks. I know I'm doing stuff on the fly. It's always scary. It's scary indeed. Hang on. Only take me a second because, you know, I feel amiss if I don't include this good gentleman's this good gentleman's commentary. Yeah, where's the, oh yeah, here's the one I want. Oh, yeah, come back here. Daggone you. Sorry about that, folks. Almost got it. There it is. There's the one I wanted. I love that one. Okay. Yeah, we should. Oh, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. Oh my God, are we gonna get into that? Believe me, Duke, I saw it, and no, just yeah. Anyhow, glad to have you guys here with us. And we're going to start off with the merry memes, and we're going to start off with a joke, which is actually kind of appropriate. And you know what? I'll just tell you the joke, and then I'll just give you the punchline. So I got a question for you guys. How do you carry $150 billion in laundered money to the bank? Let me repeat that joke. How do you carry $150 billion of laundered money to the bank? Well, it's pretty simple. You crane it. That's how you take care of your laundered money. You crane it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness indeed. Thank you, Adam, for that contribution to the show this morning. Anyhow, Sean says, I appreciate that meme. Well, you know what? There's more where that came from. That's all I'm saying. Adam is very good at providing some of the funny. Let's see. What? Oh yeah, here's another one of his that I thought was really cute. This is for you fishing enthusiasts out there. Have you know, there's always been a great question. Everybody has a pretty good idea that fish are very intelligent, but no one realized just quite how intelligent they were until you started seeing things like this. Mom, who's that? That's that bitch your dad ran off with last week. Well, you know, apparently he didn't run off with her too long. Just saying. You know, oh my goodness. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let this be proof and confirmation, indeed, that fish do talk to each other. Little did you know. Little did you know. So thank you, Adam, for those contributions to the morning. You know, the joint address to Congress was last week that President Trump gave, and it was eventful in so many different ways. Little did we realize. Hang on one second, folks. Had a little tickle in the throat there. Got to take care of that. It was very eventful for a lot of different reasons. And there were things that were happening before and even after the speech was over with that, you know, really caused it to be quite the momentous night. For example, did you know that the Spice Girls have gotten back together again, and apparently they're going out on tour? And it almost slipped past me, this piece of news, that the Spice Girls got together, they're reunited, and they're ready to go out on tour. Although they are making some slight modifications to some parts of the act that they're doing. I mean, for example, it looks like they may have changed the names. Now we've got Ghetto Spice. Let's see, what's this other one? BLM Spice. We've got Gaza Spice. Let's see, Low IQ Spice. And finally, they modified one of the names to Jihad Spice. So, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. The Spice Girls have gotten back together and they're going out on tour. Woo, baby. Glad to see. I mean, coming to a town near you. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, come on now. That's insulting to Mussolini. Really? Oh my God. Sean from Third Railify says, LOL, I'd pull the hair on Low IQ Spice any day. You know, I got into a discussion the other night with the lady, and because I think I made some comment about I think I made some comment as it related to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she said, "Do you really think she's pretty?" I was like, she can be. I guess it depends on how she's made up. But yeah, Sean apparently is all about pulling hair on low IQ spice. Okay, that's just Sean. I don't know what you Canadians do up there north of the border, but y'all keep that stuff to yourself, okay? I love you, but just saying. Anywho, so yeah, the Spice Girls are back together. And so now you also, coming out of the Trump's address to the joint session of Congress, that the Democrats have been roundly criticized for their performance during the address to Congress. And I don't mean just on a policy standpoint. I mean just on a personal standpoint, okay? I mean, you guys saw the auctioneer things that they kind of held up. They were not very effective, especially the things they had written on them. I mean, for example, I don't know who thought this was a good idea to put this person behind Ilhan Omar and use that paddle right behind her head. But, oh, God, that was, like I say, I'm very sure that there are discussions going on right now about how and why these were not a good idea to use these auctioneer paddles or whatever it is you call them. Yeah, just I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Elon's probably having a very serious conversation with somebody about all this. Yes, the paddles. Indeed, Lana. Indeed. I don't know why they haven't deported her yet. Don't ask me. I'm just a humble guy doing a live stream. That's all I am. Look, there are certain decisions above my pay grade, quite obviously. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now, as you all are aware, no doubt by now, Trump called out Elizabeth Warren during his address to Congress and referred to her by one of the many nicknames that folks on the right have given her over the years. And apparently, the back and forth between the two of them didn't stop during the joint session of Congress. Apparently, they had words after it was all said and done. And somebody managed to get a camera and catch some of what happened. So just to keep you guys updated about what's going on, apparently Pocahontas said, "You called me Pocahontas in front of millions of people." And Trump responded with, "I know, that shit was hilarious." I really ask you, where is the decorum in American politics today? I mean, seriously, where is the decorum in American politics? It's just awful. Just plain awful. The way we're talking to each other. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just makes you shake your head. Oh, this is so bad. How could you, sir? How could you? Oh my God. Sean over from Third Railify on Rumble says she ought to be called Pocahontas. Well, my idea goes along with that. I think we ought to start just referring her. I think we ought to just start referring to her as Liawatha. But that's just me, You guys shared. What did we share, dear? That meme or the live stream? Good morning to you, by the way. Glad to have you in the house, darling. Glad to have you here. Trump. You're killing me, Adam. You're killing. Yeah, we shared the stream. Yeah, we did. We did share the stream. I shared the stream. I shared the stream as much as I possibly could. Okay. Yeah, it was a pun, but oh my God, you're killing me. You're just killing me, boy. You're killing me. Oh, and speaking of things going on in Washington, people are trying to find all kinds of ways to respond to Trump, Elon Musk, DOGE, all that good stuff. Well, federal workers seem to have come up with a way to do it, and I gotta admit, this is pretty unique. Now, the Porch Hounds managed to get their hands on something for me, and the Porch Hounds passed it off to WWG1. WWG1 passed it off to me, and now I'm going to present it to you. This is how federal workers are responding to Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE in this new era in Washington, D.C. And with that, check this out. Oh, as always, let me know if you got this, if we're hearing sound on this.
What's the password? I pay dead people. You think you're getting rid of us federal employees? Think again. Working from home, mustard on my tea, though. Ain't going back, talk to OMB, bro. Underfired, overpaid, can't be seen, though. Turn my camera off to exfoliate my T-zone. Get mail checks long as I'm alive. You work late, I am on my couch at 5. Automatic raises, they keep going higher. Trying to get rid of me, you won't need a minor. It's real and it's fantastic. GS14 working down in Myrtle. Snap itself is cause I just saw a turtle. This back to work requirement is one you cannot hurdle. Look at me, I'm doing work. JK, it's the word. You taxpaying folk work hard with your hands. We take your money because apparently we can. So we can brainstorm $1 billion plans. Much ado about nothing but everybody trans. It's pretty good, right? I mean, I know they need food, but I feel like this is better. Building peace in Gaza, but I think I did it wrong. You send us spending money, but baby, it's been a gone. I'm probably gonna need $100 million for repairs. The pronouns for whose farms are built are they and them and theirs. Walk, 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 walk. What if Trump could dance? Walk, 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 walk. Well, I think this was a chance. Call it a rap band. This verse is collapsing. Let's send a check to Wuhan. What's the worst that can happen? They not like us. 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 They not like us.
Well, there you go, folks. This is how the feds are responding to Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE in the era of the reducing of waste and government inefficiency. There you go. So you got to give it to those federal workers. They're creative, if nothing else. They are creative. All right. This next one is for Adam and Sean. Now, by the way, you two, we Americans have a bone to pick with you fellas. You guys were supposed to have gotten rid of Justin Fidel Trudeau as soon as possible. I thought he resigned months ago, and we're still dealing with his nonsense. But laying that aside, don't worry, we still love you, but, Trudeau got to go. Anyway, but there's much back and forth between the U.S. and Canada right now over questions of trade and tariffs and everything else. However, someone has very wisely pointed out, very wisely pointed out that there is one thing above all else, that if Donald Trump were to do this, we would get a whole lot more cooperation out of the Canadian government in terms of how they treat us. Now, this is going to be a low blow in so many different ways. If Trump actually asked to go ahead and do this, I think this is probably one of the worst things I've ever heard of. But I'm just going to put this one up here and let it speak for itself. 87% of the toilet paper Canada uses is produced in the United States. Look, do I think Donald Trump ought to do this? No, not really. But I mean, if you really wanted to get the Canadians' attention, my friends, this might be the ultimate way to do it. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Because, look, I don't know how Canadians feel about toilet paper, but down here in America, it's downright very important subject. It really is. And maybe the Canadians are different. Maybe the Canadians, it's not that big of a requirement. But, if Trump really wanted to put the screws to Trudeau and his government up there, well, maybe this is the way to do it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. What else do we have in the way of the merry memes this morning? Oh, yes. I said there were a lot of things coming out of this address to a joint session of Congress. And one of them is, believe it or not, many studios in Hollywood, after the performance that members of Congress put on the other night, they are reaching out to members of the House and Senate to see if they would be interested in acting opportunities. I know, it's hard to believe, especially given the really poor performance. But, some of these decisions that they're making to reach out to some members of Congress aren't necessarily based on acting ability as much as it is their looks. And it's a fair statement. I mean, for example, U.S. Representative Rosa DeLauro, Democrat from Connecticut. Apparently, Disney, which owns Henson Studios, Jim Henson Studios, Disney is reaching out to Representative Rosa DeLauro to see if she would be interested in taking a part in a live action remake of The Dark Crystal. I mean, for example, I think the hook for the Disney folks was that Rosa DeLauro looks a lot like one of the characters from Dark Crystal. I mean, for example, here's a picture of Rosa DeLauro, and here's a picture of the character that she would be playing. So here's the character she'd be playing, and here is what Rosa DeLauro would look like in the live action version of Dark Crystal. Now, coincidence? I'm just saying. Maybe there's a reason why Disney's reaching out to you. Third Railify says, wow, it's uncanny. That's what I thought. I mean, it's right there, man. I mean, again, I'll put this up here. Rosa DeLauro, the U.S. representative from Connecticut, the character that she'd be playing in the live action remake of The Dark Crystal. TBA says, that's a she? You can't be serious. Yeah, Rosa DeLauro. Yeah, Rosa DeLauro is a lady. No, she may not be much of a lady, but she is a lady. I'm just saying. So, yeah, I mean, apparently the casting people at Disney hit this one right on the head, baby. That's all I'm saying. Now, look, you can make this comment, Lara, but I am not. No. I'm just a humble host of a little old live stream on social media. I am. I am not getting near that one. Really? Wow. Bless her heart. Mercy. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Zippy, I absolutely agree. So she's been in office since the 90s. New hate. Well, bless your all's hearts up there. Well, yeah, no. Can't disagree with you there, dear. Cannot disagree with you there. So yeah, Rosa DeLauro may be coming up in a live action version of The Dark Crystal. Even with the purple hair? Seriously? Or is the purple hair a new thing? I'm just curious. Thank you for that disclaimer. I genuinely appreciate it. Oh, mercy me. Well, good luck to Disney on that one. That's all I'm saying. Oh, by the by. I said that, we mentioned that the Spice Girls were getting back together. Well, old bands are getting back together. That was announced at the joint session of the Congress. And apparently there's a new band that's getting together made up of 4 brothers. Yeah, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys have heard of this group yet or not, but they've got a new single coming out. The group is called Vance Halen, and their new single is called Vance the Night Away. So, be on the lookout. So when you're listening on your local radio stations or over Spotify or Apple Music or wherever it is you listen, you'll be hearing the tune. You'll be hearing Vance the Night Away by the new group Vance Halen. Don't ask me the names of the brothers. There might be a JD or a DJ or a BJ or a JB, or I don't know. That may be their initials. I have no idea. I don't know what their names are, but I just know the name of the group, and I know what the name of the new single is. Oh, has he now? Oh, that's funny. See, I give Vance credit for one thing. JD Vance has a really good sense of humor. I look, I do not know the man, obviously. It's not like we've ever met or had conversations or whatever. But JD Vance strikes me as the kind of guy who doesn't take himself too seriously and has got a pretty good head on his shoulders. And again, I could be dead wrong about that. I really could. But he just strikes me as being very down to earth. Really does. So, but yeah, if he's posting these memes, I'll bet you he's having a field day with them. All right, one last thing, and we will turn our attentions to some serious stuff. And yeah, that's probably true. Hi, I'm JD. This is my brother JD. And this is my other brother, JD. That probably is something like that. Hi, this is my brother, Daryl, and my other brother, Daryl. And I'm named Daryl. There you go. Crazy. Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Yeah, so far, that boy definitely got raised right. So, yeah. All right. This is for you guys out there. Let's be honest. Nobody likes going to a meeting at work. Okay. But there are ways. Hang on a second, folks. The sunlight's creeping in on me here, so I got to do something about it. There we go. I know I have a very angelic face, but y'all don't need to see that much shine. There we go. That's better. Hang on. Adjusting said hat. Now we're ready. Okay. There are all kinds of ways to make a meeting more enjoyable. Okay. Well, apparently some good old boys found a way to do it. Now, gentlemen, all that is required to make your meeting fun and entertaining is your willingness to use power tools and a little bit of creativity. And with that, I give you the following. As a matter of fact, that's so good, we got to play that again. That's just too good. We're going to start that one. So, gentlemen, take note. You need a leaf blower, a roll of toilet paper, and a paint roller, and some duct tape. Okay? If you can find those 4 things, you can make your meetings a whole lot of fun. And with that, one more time. Never, ever let it be said that we did not always try to make things on the electronic front porch as fun for you as we possibly could. WWG1 says, duct tape makes the world go round. Yes, it does. That and a good can of WD-40. If you can find, look, folks, I don't care what these fancy schmancy YouTube, do it yourself channels are trying to show y'all. Okay. There's only two things you really need to keep everything in your world together. Okay. One, you need a roll of duct tape. And number two, you need a can of WD-40. If you got those two things, then everything in your world can be fixed. I'm just saying. Yeah, now I will give you that one, Gypsy. That would have made it even better. If he'd have brought a bag of sparkles, that would have been funny. That'd have been funny as all get out. That'd be good. TBA says over on Rumble, duct tape keeps the world from falling apart too. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Good morning, DC. How you doing? How you doing? Glad to have you in the house. Good to see you. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. All right. Let us get down to business. And we're going to start with some discussions about foreign policy, particularly the Ukraine war. And there have been some pretty big developments this week. Nothing that we're ultimately looking for here, which is a ceasefire and a peace treaty. But I think we're getting closer. And I think Donald Trump, and again, I'm not in the room. I'm not having conversations with the president. I'm just interpreting on the basis of the actions that I see. I think Donald Trump has finally realized there's only one way to get these two sides to the table to do a deal, and that is to actually force them to do it. And by force them, basically what Trump's wanting to do here, again, just my interpretation, basically Trump's like, okay, if I got to force you to do it, I'm going to do those things that are going to put the squeeze on you so hard you haven't got any choice. And that leads us to our first story of the morning. A couple of days ago, the Trump administration announced they would pause the flow of intelligence to Ukraine that helps on the battlefield. Now, this story is from the Associated Press, and it's written by David Klepper and Darlene Superville. We have the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. The U.S. has paused its intelligence sharing with Ukraine, cutting off the flow of vital information that has helped the war-torn nation target Russian invaders, but Trump administration officials said Wednesday that positive talks between Washington and Kiev mean it may only be a short suspension. Information about Russian intentions and military movements has been critical to Ukraine's defense and a strong indication of support from the U.S. and other Western allies. The suspension comes after Trump paused military aid to Ukraine, and it's another sign of how he has transformed America's relations with its close allies. Quote, "We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship," National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said Wednesday. Comments from top Trump administration officials suggest the decision is part of a broader negotiation between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to negotiate a peace deal with Russia, and that intelligence could begin flowing to Ukraine again soon. Okay. CIA Director John Ratcliffe called the suspension a pause and said it came after a disastrous meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy in the Oval Office last week. Ratcliffe said Trump wanted to know that Zelenskyy was serious about peace. Quote, "On the military front and the intelligence front, the pause that allowed that to happen will go away, and I think we'll work shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine as we have," Ratcliffe said. All right, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's see. Oh, good morning, Jessica. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I saw your new live stream the other night. Very funny. I think it's called Going Off the Rails. Matter of fact, Jessica, do me a favor and drop the name of that new live stream you're doing. I want to give you a plug for it. If nothing else, to kind of help out. If you want just some good old fashioned silly fun, believe me, Forced Mommy is all about that. So yes, Jessica, good morning, my dear. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Okay. I think Trump has finally come to the realization, okay, working with Zelenskyy is maddening on so many different levels. On one day, he says he wants peace. Another day, he says we're not going to have peace. I want a ceasefire. Don't want a ceasefire. I'm going to negotiate with the Russians. I won't negotiate with the Russians. And after that brouhaha in the Oval Office the other day, I think Trump's about had enough. So I kind of understand where Trump's coming from. It's like, okay, we're going to pause your military aid. And now, what do they mean by stop sharing intelligence? Well, satellite pictures, information about Russian troop movements. In other words, anything that would help the Ukrainians tactically during battle, they're just like, no, we're not going to give it to you anymore. Now, that doesn't mean the French couldn't do it, which, by the way, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, has said, yep, that's exactly what we're doing. We'll keep on sharing intelligence with you. Doesn't mean the British can't do it. Just the Americans are like, yeah, we're gonna put a pause on that thing. Now, you would think that would be enough, okay? And when I say enough, what I mean is it would be enough to get the Ukrainians to the table and the Russians would be like, okay, we're going to pull back here, okay? Just hold up here a minute. However, Trump the other day on Truth Social dropped the following, and I could not understand why he did this, but I'll explain in a minute. He dropped the following on Truth Social. Based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions, and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and a final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it's too late. Thank you. All right, hang on a second. I'm not going to lie to you. I could not understand why. Good morning, patel. Could not understand. I could not understand why it was Trump was saying this to the Russians. And then I read the following report and it made a whole lot more sense. Again, this is from the Associated Press. Russia attacks Ukraine energy supplies as U.S. cuts its access to satellite images. Uh-oh. Written by Ilya Novikov and John Gramble, we have the following. Dateline, Kiev, Ukraine. Russia attacked Ukrainian energy facilities with dozens of missiles and drones during the night, officials said Friday, hobbling the country's ability to deliver heat and light to its citizens and to power weapons factories vital to its defense. The overnight barrage, which also pounded residences and wounded at least 10 people, came days after the U.S. suspended military aid and intelligence to Ukraine to pressure it into accepting a peace deal being pushed by the Trump administration. Without U.S. intelligence, Ukraine's ability to strike inside Russia and defend itself from bombardment is significantly diminished. So the Russians are taking advantage of the situation. And in one sense, you can't blame them. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hang on. Because I know you lefties out there hear that. You're like, all you Karens out there that just, got your Ukraine lapel pins on or wherever it is you stick them. Just chill out for a minute. Hear me out. I'm not saying what the Russians are doing is correct or even morally right, but they are in a state of war. And if your enemy has a disadvantage, you take advantage of their disadvantage until you have a ceasefire. So Trump's like, hey guys, Vladimir, I know you guys have got a leg up right now, but cool it. Yeah, exactly. Chill out, you Karens. Chill out indeed. So now Trump's got to basically grab both of them and go, just will you just sit down for a minute? And like I said, when Trump dropped that post on Truth Social, I could not understand what was going on. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Vladimir Putin and the Russians are morally correct in this. They've got legitimate reasons for doing what they're doing as far as I'm concerned. But by the same token, it's kind of like, really? Yeah, yep. Very true. So yeah, right now as it stands, we're not sharing intelligence with the Ukrainians about Russian troop movements or whatever else might be to their advantage. We're slowed down the supply of weapons, and we're trying to keep the Russians from taking full advantage of the situation. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do not envy Donald Trump the situation that he finds himself in his second term, because not only has he got to put things right at home, he's got to put out some fires overseas that he didn't start as an American president. His predecessor did, but he's got to deal with the ramifications of them. So, I mean, how that man, well, I know he sleeps at night. He doesn't sleep much, but how he sleeps at night, I have no idea. Because if I had all this on my plate, I'd be like, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of shape I'd be in. But so I don't envy him the job he's got. But it doesn't help matters when both sides of the conflict, or maybe one of them in this case, the Russians, are just, continuing to pound the Ukrainians. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, Gypsy is right to point out, that quote that's attributed to General Sherman, that war is hell. But it's like, dude, you've got them by the throat here. Just before you put the final squeeze on them, just let's sit down. Let's talk this thing out. And the funny part about it, Trump is realizing more and more his problem isn't necessary. Everybody told him his biggest problem in getting peace in this thing would be, the biggest problem would be Putin and the Russians. Trump doesn't seem to think so. I got something here for you guys. And this was the other day in the Oval Office during one of those sessions where Trump is signing executive orders. And a reporter asked him a question. I just thought you guys might want to hear this. Check it out.
Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia.
But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine. I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine.
And they don't have the cards.
They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early. And we're talking. I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. And they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. Can't do that. Trying to.
Yeah, we'll just stop it right there. And I could. Oh, sorry about that. And I know why. I know what's causing it. My bad. Matter of fact, let me fix that right now. Got the echo cancellation on. Okay. All right. I know what it is. My bad, folks. Sorry about that, but going forward, I think I can fix it. I can understand why he feels this way. Again, say what you want to about the Russians and Putin. And again, I'm not trying to take a side here in this. I know what I think about it all. I know why we never should have had this war to begin with. And frankly, from my perspective, that war in Ukraine is the fault of the Americans and the NATO alliance, which I'm not going to go down that yellow brick road again. But the Russians are very clear about what they want, and they've said it for years. Do not put NATO and its weapons up against our border. Do not let it expand beyond where it is. And for the better part of 30 years, we've been violating that word. Okay? With impunity. And finally, when it got to Ukraine, Putin's like, that's enough. I've had it. So I can understand exactly why Trump is saying, I'm going to have the hardest part of getting peace in this deal is Zelenskyy. Because you've got to look at this from Zelensky's perspective. You've got multi-billions of dollars flowing into Ukraine. You got billions of dollars in weapons, billions of dollars in actual money. You have got evidence going back for years now that a lot of people are skimming off the top. As a matter of fact, there was a Time magazine article, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year, where literally literally, Biden officials were telling the Ukrainians, would you guys mind stop stealing straight off the top? You're getting just a little bit too greedy. I mean, I'm almost quoting the article. Okay. So from Zelensky's perspective, keep the money flowing, keep the weapons flowing, keep the conflict going, because if we do, we can keep this cash cow moving in our direction. Why would he want peace? Well, he wants peace for his people. Really? He could have had that about 6 months into the conflict when he was sitting with the Russians at Istanbul. So if you're the Ukrainians, why would you want peace? Well, let me rephrase that. If you're the current government of Ukraine, why would you want peace? I think the people of Ukraine definitely want this to stop. They've had enough. As a matter of fact, you could probably make an argument they had enough a long time ago. But yet they can't get there because Zelenskyy won't let them, which is part of the reason why it's being reported, and I do not have it pulled up, is that Trump's people are meeting with Ukraine leaders outside of Zelensky's government trying to figure out how can we get an election here. Oh, yeah. Very true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Oh, really? Ooh. If someone can find this, and I'm not saying you got to do it right now, but if someone can find this, tag me on Twitter because I want to see this, because that Iranian negotiation may be part of what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. And I'll explain why here in a minute. But yeah, Trump's like, okay, cut off their military aid, cut off the intelligence. Let's see if we can get them to the table. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's very true. That's very true. Well, Gypsy, that's a fair point. Let me rephrase that. I think the people outside of Kiev or outside certain parts of Ukraine have had enough. The eastern part of Ukraine probably has had more than enough. But, yeah, fair point. That's a fair point, Gypsy. Because you see all these TikTok videos coming out of Kiev, Ukraine, you know, young people dancing at parties and raves and all this stuff. So, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Absolutely. But, yeah, all right, let's cut off their weaponry. Let's cut off the intelligence, see if we can get them to the table. Which leads, in part, to our next story. The Europeans' response to all this. Okay. Europe apparently is preparing for war. You heard me right. The European Union is preparing for war. As a matter of fact, we've got pictures. We've got pictures of some of their weaponry that they're planning on using. This is a picture of one of the tanks that the European Union will be using in the coming conflict with the Russians. I don't know about you guys, but I'm scared. I really am. If I were the Russians, I would be terrified right now, because that is going to roll onto the battlefield. That will roll onto the battlefield, and I am very sure that kind of weaponry right there is going to make a difference. Now, you guys think I'm probably joking about the Europeans preparing for war. It's not a joke, but there's just one little problem. They can't figure out how to help Ukraine. Okay. WWG1 says that tank you just showed, according to specifications, shoots out rainbow-colored dildos. Really? I did not know that was its artillery of choice. Rainbow-colored dildos. Whew. I tell you, man. I tell you, it's bad. It's bad. My gosh. The Europeans want to increase military spending. Problem is they can't figure out what to do about Ukraine. And if you don't believe me, I got a story here from the New York Post. And when this hit the wires the other day, everybody's like, okay, typical Europe. Anyway, let's check this out. Headline: Europe fails to reach deal on Ukraine rearmament after emergency talks ends without an agreement. Article by Anthony Blair. We have the following. Europe remains divided on how to support Ukraine and shore up its defenses in the face of Russian aggression, and emergency summit talks ended without a consensus on Thursday. A statement on Ukraine was signed by all but one of the 27 EU members, with a lone country believed to be Hungary holding out. As leaders pledged to ramp up their defense spending, the main European powers could not agree on what exactly that support for Ukraine might look like and how Europe should adopt to what many see as a new world order under President Trump. Quote, Europe is weak without the United States, Bulgaria's Prime Minister Rosen Zelenskyy told reporters on Thursday. He added that he hoped the U.S. remains committed to our collective security, which is based on shared values. All right, I want to stop right there for a second. And I want to read that quote again. Let me enlarge that because I want to hammer on this for a second. Okay. I want to read this quote from the Bulgarian Prime Minister. Europe is weak without the United States. He added that he hoped the U.S. remained committed to our collective security, which is based on our shared values. Excuse me, Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question for you. On behalf of so many of my fellow Americans, please explain to me what shared values the United States and the European Union have that would cause us to want to come to the defense of Europe. Let me ask that question again. Please, sir, explain to me what shared values that we, the United States, have with the members of the European Union, such that if you guys get in trouble, we would want to come to your defense. Please, is it free speech? No, it's not free speech. Depending on which nation in Europe you're talking about, they could lock you up for praying silently or for issuing a meme or putting out a political cartoon that someone happens to disagree with. Is it based on control of populations coming through your borders? Well, no, apparently not, because the Germans just elected a government that, turned around to the German people and said, no, we're not going to change our immigration policies. So it's not free speech. It's not control of borders. Is it the right of humans to determine their own fate? Well, apparently not. Europe is supporting a dictator in Ukraine who suspended elections and is 1 year past his expiration date of his term. So I ask the question again, what shared values do we have that should cause us to want to defend you? Now, you can make an argument that 50 or 60 years ago, okay, not even 50 or 60 years ago. Let's say 30 or 40 years ago, okay? I don't get it. I mean, and good morning, Professor. Glad to have, and I'm glad you brought this up. They would argue that what Truman argued in the Washington Treaty about the need for a unified Western Europe led by U.S. strength. I don't agree with this, but it's the dominant wisdom of Atlanticism. That is, and Christian, thank you for bringing this up because this gets to something else. Okay, let's go back in time a little bit to the era that Christian Watson's referring to, when men like Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, you could argue, even up to the days of Reagan and Herbert Walker Bush, there was a reason why there needed to be a unified Western Europe and with the United States as an ally. Now, you can agree, disagree, whatever, that's fine. But you can make an argument, okay, we had a legitimate reason. That was the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union's gone. Has been for over 30 years. It dissolved. So up to that point, so like let's say from the end of World War II up to like the early 1990s, okay, may not agree with it, but you can make an argument why we need a unified Western Europe and the United States as an ally. You don't need it anymore. While the Russians are powerful, the Russians are not a threat to Europe. Now, I might wind up being dead wrong, and as I've always said, I will always come back here and tell you, I screwed one up. I got one wrong. The Russians have more land right now than they know what to do with, stretching all the way from Eastern Europe all the way over into Asia, clear across their bordering China. What do they need more land for? They've got more than they know what to do with now anyway. There is nothing, and I want to put this quote back up here again. There is not a reason for a unified Western Europe. The threat that caused them to unify in the first place is gone. We should have dissolved NATO or withdrawn from NATO in the early 90s. And I know I keep beating on what feels like a dead horse, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to shout it to the rooftop till the day I die, or until we, the United States, are out of NATO. We should have either withdrawn from NATO or moved to formally dissolve the organization. But the problem is NATO's weaponry, or maybe it's better to say the United States weaponry through NATO, is what is keeping the Europeans safe. I want to give you a point to think about, which I'm sure you guys have already at one time or another considered. And I'm putting this out here for discussion purposes. I forget who it was that I saw that said this the other day. And I don't know if it was a formal quote or just somebody's idea, but I wholeheartedly agree with it. It's real easy to spend your money on socialism when someone else is paying for your defense. Let me say that again. It is really easy to spend your money on socialism when someone else is paying for your national defense. Okay? Since World War II, if you get right down to it, we, the United States, have paid for the defense of Western Europe. Yeah, there was a British military and a French military, etc., and so on. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and this is a really good point. They were all on board with us as long as we were footing the bill. That's a really good point. Really good point, Lana. We have defended Europe either through NATO or directly on our own since the end of World War II. Europe hasn't had to, or let me rephrase that. The individual nations of Europe have not had to focus on their defense because they knew somebody else was paying for it. But now, when Trump says, wait a minute, why are we paying for your defense? Now, some people would argue, maybe it's better to keep your NATO alive in Europe. I don't know. I'm not convinced that argument. To me, it's time to let the Europeans deal with the consequences of their actions. It's time for Daddy to cut off the credit card. This is true. Well, and the worst part about it is, Adam, we got disdain from the English as well as the rest of Europe. That's the part that's killing me right now. I'm personally inclined to think it's time to let the Europeans deal with their own stuff. I really do. And I want to read you one thing. Hang on a minute. If I can find it real fast. No, can't do it. But yeah, Europe is ready to ramp up defense spending for itself, but they can't figure out what to do about Ukraine. And this is a real good point, DC. And why are the Europeans, or particularly the European Union, having such a problem figuring out what to do about Ukraine? Well, it goes a little something like this. The Italians have already told Keir Starmer of Great Britain and Emmanuel Macron of France, hey, you want to put your troops into Ukraine, you go right ahead and do it, but you're not going to send our boys in. Hungary is giving them a fit. Slovakia is not going to help them out, etc. I think we're on the edge of a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. But how we're going to get there from here, I don't know yet. I don't know. That's true. That's a good point. Good morning, small time. Glad to have you in the house. Glad to have you in the house. Europe is divided like I've never seen before. So where it goes from here, folks, I have no idea exactly. TBA over on Rumble says Ukraine was all about the money laundering. Oh, absolutely. WWG1 says Ukraine has no money, hence no need for a peace deal. Yeah. They can't afford to fight. Yeah, that's true too. That's very true. So yeah, that's where we stand right now. Europe can't figure out what to do with Ukraine. They know they want to protect themselves from the Russians, and the Americans are like, we're not going to give Ukraine any more intelligence for the time being or any more weapons. And hey, Russia, do me a favor and don't pound them into the next area code till we get this thing figured out. It's crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Completely crazy. All right. It's 11:30. We're going to do a real quick commercial, and then we're going to go straight into HodgePodge too, because I've got quite a few things for you guys by way of HodgePodge, and some of it is all of it's interesting, I think, in one form or another, and hopefully you guys will enjoy as much as I do. But if you are here this morning and you're here for the first time, and you're like, you know what, this guy, he's handsome, he looks good in a hat. He's got a great audience. The audience is fantastic. Who are these folks, and what's this channel all about? Well, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. All these wonderful people on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter, we make up what is known as Fedora Nation. This live stream is known as Front Porch Brunch. This is what we do on the weekends. We get together, we talk about some things in the news, we give our opinions about it all, and if nothing else, it helps us survive the craziness that is life. So if this sort of thing is something you'd enjoy, do me some favors. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube and on Rumble, which by the way, to you folks over on Rumble, I have got to give you shout outs and big time thanks. We are like less than 10 subscribers away from 300 over on Rumble, which I think is fantastic. I cannot thank you folks on Rumble enough. So keep sharing it around. And you folks on YouTube, we're slowly but surely climbing the mountain, pushing the numbers up. And I got a hold of some interesting tips this weekend that might help out. So yeah, you guys are absolutely awesome. And thank you for everything you do to promote this channel, to help, to spread the word, to share the links and everything. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Also, hit the bell for notifications. I don't know what it is about YouTube especially, but, you know, people tell me all the time, I never get notifications that you're coming on. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do. I wish I had somebody at YouTube that I could talk to, but or a bigger channel creator than I am, that I could sit down and say, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Just little things, but yeah, hit the bell for notifications. Also, hit the thumbs up. You can do, all of you right now, hit the thumbs up, please. And thank you. Hit the thumbs up, leave some comments in chat. All that is very helpful and welcome, and I appreciate you guys, and I love you all so much. WWG1 says, it's our pleasure, Brian. No, it's my pleasure, sir. And thank you for all that you guys do to help this going little concern be a going big concern. All right. We're going to go straight into HodgePodge stew. I gotta tell you, I don't know what's going on with my throat this morning. I'm dry as a bone. Ugh. Sorry about that, folks. HodgePodge stew, for those of you who've never been here before. See, this is what I'm talking about. Gypsy says she never gets notifications from YouTube. I don't get it. I don't know if I have the wrong setting or what. I'll see what I can do. Promise. Anyway, HodgePodge stew is that collection of stories that maybe is not the most popular thing going on the internet, but definitely is interesting enough. Definitely is interesting enough we ought to talk about it. And there's a whole bunch of different things that happened this week, aside from, Trump's address to Congress, Ukraine, etc. Oh, God. Duke, I tell you what. I'll give you the 30-second version. I think Blake Lively is a prima donna. I think this whole thing is ridiculous. And without even really looking into it, I am almost inclined to believe everything that actor has said about her without even knowing if it's true or not. Why do I get the feeling Blake Lively is one more Hollywood prima donna? But that's just me. Anyway, that's the 30-second version of it. Okay. Donald Trump has been trying. No, I'm just. Oh, fine. Now you tell me you're kidding. Yeah. Well, that's probably the best thing for all of us, frankly. The Supreme Court this week handed down a ruling that is making conservatives absolutely tear their hair out. Now, as you all are aware, Donald Trump, very early on in his new administration, suspended about $2 billion in USAID money from being spent. Okay. And of course, the bureaucracy and or the deep state fought back. So it went up to the Supreme Court, and sure enough, on a 5-4 ruling, Supreme Court said, nope, you got to spend that money. Well, people are not happy because you got 3 liberals, 3 conservatives, and 3 people that are kind of squishy. Squishy is probably best defined as Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Chief Justice John Roberts. Okay. But all is not lost. I found this article by Jonathan Turley, and I want to read this to you guys. From jonathanturley.org. Down but not out. The Supreme Court rules 5-4 against freezing $2 billion in USAID funds. In an interesting 5-4 split, the Supreme Court denied the Trump administration's application for a stay of a district court's temporary restraining order against the administration's efforts to freeze $2 billion in funds for U.S. Agency for International Development. The administration is down by 1 vote, but hardly out in the fight with lower courts over the control of the funding. The unsigned order in Department of State versus AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition refuses to stay the temporary restraining order of U.S. Judge Amir Ali to force the payment of the money frozen by the administration. However, there is more than meets the eye in this short, unsigned opinion. While unsigned, it is clear that Chief Justice John Roberts and Associate Justice Amy Coney Barrett joined the 3 liberal justices. The reason is the dissent Associate Justice Sam Alito was joined by Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh. The dissent was sharp elbows for both Judge Ali and the 5 justices in the majority. Quote, does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have the unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay and probably lose $2 billion of taxpayer money? The answer to that question should be an emphatic no, and a majority of the court apparently thinks otherwise. I'm stunned. Now, I want to stop here for a second, okay? Because this is a very, very important point. More and more and more, we're getting judges in little districts all over the country issuing restraining orders against the executive branch and basically locking up the whole government. Now, that paragraph that I just read was written by Justice Alito, and I want to read this again. Does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have the unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay out $2 billion taxpayer dollars? Justice Alito has a perfectly valid point. Donald Trump, or not, take Trump out of it. Okay, the executive branch does something that somebody doesn't like. Okay? Somebody files a lawsuit, goes into court in some little district somewhere in the federal judiciary, and one judge who probably lacks the jurisdiction to make the decision gets to lock up the actions of the executive branch. I am telling you right now, and this is just me giving my opinion. We'll get back to the article here in a second. This is just me giving my opinion, but we're headed for a serious fight here. And this needs to stop. Okay? The Supreme Court needs to hand down some kind of a decision on one or more of these cases that basically, for lack of a better way of saying it, slaps these district and appellate court judges back in line, because they're doing harm to the power of the judiciary in the long run. Now, people are going to hear me say that and be like, what do you mean they're doing harm to the power of the judiciary? They're building a blowback. You're going to, sooner or later, one of the two institutions, either the Supreme Court itself, or if Congress actually wakes up and does something useful, are going to start laying down some serious restrictions on what these district courts can and cannot do. Frankly, Congress needs to be the one to act. Do you know that there is only one court that is required under the U.S. Constitution? Just one. The Supreme Court of the United States. That's it. Everything else, appellate courts, district courts, etc., is the creation of the Congress. Congress needs to do something about this, but frankly, they're so lazy and so chicken-hearted, I doubt they will, so this is going to have to come down from the Supreme Court. And frankly, there are people on the court who I think realize, and I'm not going to name names, but I think they realize the more these little district court judges and these lower-level appellate court judges do this sort of thing, the more it's going to force the Supreme Court to come down hard on everybody in the federal judiciary, which frankly they need to. And somebody needs to. Oh yeah, DC, I agree with this completely. Completely. I mean, what are we going to do? Are we going to let a district court constantly do this sort of thing? Because if that's the case, the executive branch will never be able to get anything lawfully done during their time in office. Because you know what the opposition is going to do? They're going to go into a courtroom, file a lawsuit, request a restraining order to stop the actions of the executive branch, regardless of whether it's Democrats or Republicans. This cuts across both sides here. Okay? Right now, it's a conservative Donald Trump doing things that progressive liberals don't like. The progressive liberals are using the court to try to slow down the actions of the executive. Well, it's not going to be long before the shoe goes on the other foot. It'll be a liberal Democrat, whoever that may be, and you're going to have conservatives going to the court and doing the exact same thing. This has got to get resolved. Okay? This absolutely has to get resolved. And part of that, at least from my perspective, part of that needs to be, we need to have a serious discussion about what is the power of the executive branch, or maybe the point, what is the power of the presidency? If the president decides not to spend money and you don't happen to like it, are you going to be able to go into a courtroom and stop him from doing it? Well, that's true too. Either do that or let Trump impound the money. But to me, I agree with you, Christian. This would be the ultimate solution. Just defund him permanently. Be done with it. Don't use it as a political toy. Don't use it as a fundraising ploy. Just get rid of it. Yeah, that's true too. That's true. Zippy with a rumble rant. The court system has become a system of whims. We need to get rid of standing. QI and sovereignty in dealing with constitutional issues. Let everyone sue to force law back to being constitutional. Not a bad idea. And thank you for the rumble rant, sir. I appreciate that. I mean, this is crazy. All right, back to that article. Just a little bit more of it. Alito acknowledged the lower court's frustration with the government as well as the serious concerns about non-payment for completed work. However, Alito noted that this is quite simply too extreme a response. A federal court has many tools to address a party's supposed nonfeasance. Self-aggrandizement of its jurisdiction is not one of them. The key here is that there was a controversial move to review a temporary restraining order, which is generally not reviewable. What is clear is that there are 4 justices who were still prepared to do so and are obviously likely to grant review in the next round. That next round would come after the hearing on the preliminary injunction, which is scheduled for March 6th. It can be appealed to those awaiting justices. Only 4 of them need to grant review, so you do the math. Basically, Turley is saying this is not over yet, nor should it be. Nor should it be. But yeah, thank you, Amy Coney Barrett. All right. Next item on HodgePodge. Updates on the Epstein list. And I've got a meme here, thank compliments to WWG1, which really sets this up. Meanwhile, back at the Southern District of New York, Epstein list? What Epstein list? Hey, there's not a shred of evidence that it ever existed. Yeah, buddy. Now, the story that I'm going to share with you, you guys have probably already heard about, but it definitely ought to be mentioned because I have serious questions here. And the story goes like this. As you all are well aware now, hopefully, a truckload of evidence, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi, has been delivered to her and to FBI Director Kash Patel. However, it will now be redacted. Parts of it will be redacted due to national security concerns. Let me read that again. It says Epstein files, not necessarily all of them, but parts of them, will be redacted due to national security concerns. I have a question. Why are we having to do that? Now, I know the answer, and I am being somewhat facetious in asking that question. But what the hell national security concerns are there that we got to redact names from these files? I ask you, what's in these files that cause a national security concern? You know, dear, I'm just ready to agree with you. I mean, up to now, I have been so trying to give her benefit of the doubt. I'll put it like this. Let's assume for a moment that her motives in this are pure. Okay, now just go with me for a second. Let's assume her motives are pure. At a minimum, at best, she's not ready for prime time. The way she rolled out what she had and the contradictions in her statements, at a minimum, she's not ready for prime time. At worst, to borrow someone's description of her, and I think it was Gypsy who came up with this, she's Bill Barr in high heels. Okay? I don't know. But at this point, I'm not impressed. Christian, if I was one of the people who said you were wrong, you have my apologies right now. Okay? Well, if I said you were wrong, then you have my apologies right here, right now. I don't remember doing it, but if I did, I was wrong. Because, like I said, at a minimum, this girl's not ready for prime time. Not even close. TBA over on Rumble says, the Epstein list is now a national security concern. Concerning, huh? I was like, yeah. WWG1 says, high heels and a blue dress a la Bill Clinton. Don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So, however, yeah, that's true. That's true too. She did. Yep. I agree. However, I know one person that I could think of that I would love to see as her replacement. Let me find this real quick. Hang on. Where is it? Tell me that I... Daggone it. Did I not save this one? Ugh. Apparently I did not. Tell you what, though, the Attorney General of Missouri, I could absolutely get down with this guy. Hang on a minute. Let me find it. I thought I had this pulled up. Where is it? Ah, yes. Here it is. Here's exactly who I want. Did you guys hear about this? Let me enlarge. Yeah.
Tonight we begin a series looking back at the coronavirus pandemic, looking for lessons.
Shannon, I love you, dear, but be quiet. Did you guys hear about this? This came out on Friday. Missouri wins $24 billion judgment against China in COVID lawsuit. The ruling comes 5 years after Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt filed the original suit in 2020. A federal judge on Friday ruled in favor of Missouri in the state's $24 billion lawsuit against China's Communist Party that accused it of hoarding protective supplies during the coronavirus pandemic. Quote, this is a landmark victory for Missouri and the United States in the fight to hold China accountable for unleashing COVID-19 on the world, said Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey in a statement. China refused to show up to court, and that doesn't mean they get away with causing untold suffering and economic devastation. We intend to collect every penny by seizing Chinese-owned assets, including Missouri farmland. Bailey said the judgment was 6 times larger than the previous largest judgment in the state's history. You did not hear about this one. Oh yeah. Apparently this lawsuit started back in 2020 by Eric Schmidt, who was then the Attorney General of Missouri. He's now a U.S. Senator. And they sued China for hoarding pharmaceuticals, protective wear, etc. And now it's been resolved. China has to pay $24 billion to the state of Missouri. And it took them about 4 or 5 years to get here. Now, I tell you what, this Andrew Bailey, I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about him. Let me just say this. If it turns out that things don't work out too well with Bondi, I don't know. This Andrew Bailey, yeah, I could get down with this guy. Because as a matter of fact, one of the other lawsuits he's been intimately involved with are the suits against the Biden administration over First Amendment free speech. So, yeah, I could definitely get down with this guy. Absolutely could. So, yeah, just thought I'd share that with you guys. $24 billion the Chinese Communist Party has to pay the state of Missouri. Happy. Show me the money. Show me the money. Okay. You guys ready for something cringe? So as you all know, Representative Al Green of Texas got himself in trouble during Trump's joint address to the Congress, such that he got thrown out. Well, a move was made to censure Representative Al Green. Basically, it's a glorified slap on the wrist. But what the funny part about it was what happened on the day the censure vote took place. Have you guys seen this? I normally I would laugh at something like this, but it's just so cringe. Give me 1 second here. I got to get this. I thought I had it. There we go. One more. There we go. So watch this, because this is absolutely just, oh God. Check this out.
Will Representative Green present himself to the will? By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. The House has come to order. The House has come to order.
They are literally singing, "We Shall Overcome." Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 We shall overcome. I agree, Gypsy. I agree. Not only is evidence that they're sick, they're not serious people. You know, I've been watching politics since I was like 17, 18 years old. Okay. And I've seen all kinds of stuff. The one thing that the common thread throughout my time of watching politics is a very strong and vibrant Democrat Party. Now, when I say strong and vibrant, I don't necessarily mean that strong and vibrant in terms of their ideas, although there was a time intellectually that the Democrat Party could put up a good argument. You may not have agreed with it, but they could articulate an argument. This is what they have been reduced to. Zippy with a rumble rant says, look at the commies drape themselves in the flayed skin of the fallen. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Zippy, for the rumble rant. This is what they've come down to. Okay? This is what they are. This is the idea of strong and powerful opposition. They are left resorting to political stunts. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good political stunt. You know, I enjoy political theater as much as anybody. Yeah, Jessica, that's a good way of putting it. Real good way of putting it, dear. They're holding up auctioneer signs during a presidential address. They're singing "We Shall Overcome" like this is the 1960s and the Civil Rights Movement. Okay? This is insane. The shocking thing to me is just how far the Democrat Party collectively has fallen in the time I've been watching politics. Okay? There is nothing intellectually challenging about the Democrat Party anymore. They're broken. I mean, I hate to use that word, but they're broken. Psychologically broken. Now, they won't stay this way permanently, but right now, they're terrible. I've never seen anything like this. They're flailing around like fish out of water. They have no message. They have no leadership. They have nothing. They have nothing of substance to offer the American people right now. I've never seen them this bad off. Never. It's to me, it's just unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. It just blows my mind. Yeah, and again, to go back to something from the other night, the 13-year-old young man, DJ. Okay, here's a kid who has survived 8 different brain surgeries for cancer. Okay. If I remember correctly, Trump was speaking about this the other night. This kid should have been dead about 5 or 6 years ago. This kid not only survived all those surgeries, survived brain cancer, he is alive, walking, and talking today. He's a miracle. The kid's a miracle. So Donald Trump tries to do something decent. The kid has been interested in law enforcement all his life. So Trump says, you know what? Let's make him an honorary member of the Secret Service. And they can't even stand up and applaud this kid for receiving honorary membership to the Secret Service. These people have no mind, and these people have no soul. They're terrible. Zippy with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much for your generosity. In the past 10 years, the Democrats have become the neocon party, the worst, most fake parts of it to boot. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Yeah, this is a real good point. 5 brain tumors removed over 4 surgeries. Whew, bless her heart. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not the only one that's criticizing the Democrats. You got some fellow Democrats are out there trying to call out their own on this, although they should have been doing it a long time ago. I mean, I've never seen anything like these people. Never. I've never seen them this disorganized, leaderless, absent of ideas, soulless. I mean, Donald Trump made a really good point. You know, the only time the Democrats applauded during his speech was when he talked about spending money on Ukraine. That's it. That's it. The only time they got excited about something. Everything else, nada. Unbelievable. And they're left resorting to singing old civil rights songs when one of their own is censured for obviously inappropriate behavior. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. Did you guys hear about, switching gears just a little bit, did you guys hear about the coroner's report on Gene Hackman? The Santa Fe coroner has determined now the cause of death. And I tell you what, this to me is sad on so many different levels. Okay. I've got the article here from Variety magazine. And I want to go through this just a little bit. I mean, maybe you guys have heard about this, maybe you haven't. But it just, from a human level, this to me is just really, really, really sad. And I wanted to go through some of this. From Variety magazine, Gene Hackman died of heart disease and Alzheimer's a week after Betty Arakawa, his wife, wife's cause of death determined to be hantavirus. Article written by Gene Matus. We have the following. Gene Hackman likely died about a week after his wife, Betsy Arakawa, died due to hantavirus, the medical examiner announced Friday. Hang on one second. Hackman died of cardiovascular disease with Alzheimer's as a significant contributing factor, said Heather Jarrell, the chief medical examiner for the New Mexico Office of Medical Investigator. Arakawa likely died about a week earlier on February 11th of hantavirus, a potentially fatal virus transmitted by mice. Both deaths fall under natural causes, which can include heart disease, stroke, cancer, respiratory failure, infections, and age-related complications. Okay. Hackman, 95, and Arakawa, 65, were found dead on February 26. Authorities said at the time they did not suspect foul play. At a news conference Friday, Santa Fe Sheriff Aiden Mendoza said that surveillance cameras showed that Arakawa did errands on February 11th, visiting Sprouts Market and a CVS pharmacy. She also corresponded with a massage therapist by email that day. Her car entered the gated subdivision where the couple lived around 5:15. No activity or communications were found after that date. Hackman had advanced Alzheimer's disease as well as severe heart disease and a history of heart attacks, Jarrell said. He tested negative for hantavirus, which, by the way, interesting little factoid about hantavirus. It can be transmitted from rodents to humans, but humans cannot transmit it from one person to another. Hence why Hackman did not have the virus himself. But anyway, back to the story. Aaron Phipps, the state public health veterinarian, said at a press conference that hantavirus infections are very rare. She said that out of 136 infections in the state over the last 50 years, 42% were fatal. The virus is typically transmitted through rodent excrement. Phipps said there were signs of rodent entry into some of the buildings on the property, though the risk in the main house was low. Hackman's pacemaker registered cardiac activity on February 17th. On February 18th, the pacemaker picked up an abnormal rhythm, which was the last recording suggesting that he had died that day. Authorities announced last week that the autopsy found both bodies tested negative for carbon monoxide. The New Mexico Gas Company also thoroughly checked the home and found no significant leaks. According to a search warrant, Arakawa was found dead on the bathroom floor. Pills were scattered on the countertop. At the press conference, the pills are thyroid medication that was being taken as prescribed. Hackman was found in the mudroom off the kitchen. It appeared he had fallen on the floor. A dead dog was also found in a closet near Arakawa's body, while two other healthy dogs were roaming the property. A necropsy on the dog is still pending. Okay, I want to talk about some of this for just a second. This to me is really just kind of tragic, and I'm not trying to be over dramatic about this. I'm saddened. for a lot of reasons. I understand that Hackman had children. Okay, they were living in Los Angeles. As a matter of fact, give me 1 second here. What I'm looking for is how many kids he had. He had 3 children. Okay, and I'm not. Yeah. This is the point I'm getting to. When somebody hadn't heard from him in a while, and again, well, yeah, and that could be true too. That could be true. The way what this sounds like to me, Hackman's wife contracts this virus, okay? Either by, maybe she was out in one of the outbuildings, cleaned up some feces, whatever it was, contracted the virus. It kept working on her, and then finally she died. According to other things I've read, Hackman, for about a week, someone asked the coroner, did he realize she was dead? Maybe he didn't. So she dies a week later because remember, according to the reports, he had severe Alzheimer's. And she was obviously the caretaker. Right? After a week of the absence of food, his medications, etc., Hackman fell over dead. I guess what bugs me about this is, everybody has a right to their privacy. I understand that. I'm probably more private than I need to be, so I get it. But by the same token, leave the kids out of it for a second, okay? Did not their neighbors, when they didn't see him out and about, did they not think, hey, maybe we ought to... Has anybody seen Jean? Has anybody seen Betsy? Or Betty, excuse me. Has anybody seen them? I haven't seen them get out of the house in a week. Maybe we ought to go knock on the door or something. Now, this is interesting. I have read that Hackman had an illegitimate son, and Jean never recognized him or his mom. Some say this was his revenge. Ooh, all right, now, okay. I could, all right, if that's the case with one of the 3 kids, I can understand. Okay. Well, okay, fair, but still, did the neighbors not, it just makes me sad. It just seems like, now, could the neighbors have prevented what happened from happening? I doubt it. Because this sounds like this was far enough along, the hantavirus was far enough along. Maybe they could have saved her life if they'd gotten her to a hospital. Maybe they couldn't. I don't know. But, did not anyone check on them? And I could be just as guilty of this, depending on the circumstances of the context. I'm not trying to exempt myself from this and say I'm all high and mighty here. But it makes me sad. WWG1 says, my neighbors don't know that I exist, LOL. Well, as secret agent man as you apparently can be, I can understand that. You're kind of like John Turturro from Mr. Deeds, sneaking around, showing up real quick. Who knows? With Alzheimer's, it's likely he probably didn't realize she was dead. Yeah, it is. I guess that's what kind of breaks my heart for him personally. Just on so many levels. It just breaks your heart. It really does. And I've got a follow-up article here about a little bit more about what is hantavirus. This is from the Associated Press. Hantavirus is spread by contact with rodents or their urine or their feces. It does not spread between people. There is no specific treatment or cure, but early medical attention can increase the chance of survival. An infection can rapidly progress and become life-threatening. Okay. Quote, it really starts like the flu, body aches, feeling poorly overall, said Sanja Bartolome of the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. Early in the illness, you really may not be able to tell the difference between hantavirus and having the flu. The virus can cause a severe and sometimes deadly lung infection called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The agency began tracking the virus after a 93 outbreak in the Four Corners region, the area where Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah meet. So there you go. Yeah, just, wow. Now, I can believe this. Zippy, where you're concerned, I could absolutely believe this. Oh, goodness. Yeah, it just really does. It just really makes me sad. Yeah, but that's just me. Okay, let's shift gears to something a little bit funny. Well, no, not a little bit funny, but it is funny. Have you guys seen this picture? Tell me what this reminds you of. When you see this picture, you think of what exactly? Okay. I know what I think. Okay. I said this the other, speaking of rodents. Yeah. Big rat indeed. When you see this picture, what comes to your mind? So, you know, I will give it a second to let you guys drop your comments in chat. WG1 says, Hunter Biden spoke Parmesan cheese and rodent droppings in his crack pipe. Ew. Oh, God. Okay, she says that the picture looks like American Psycho. All right, maybe. All right. Any other images that come to mind? I'll tell you mine here in a second. When you see this picture, what comes to your mind? So you got that. We've got to vote for American Psycho. Any other takers on this one? I am very curious to hear your thoughts about you see this and what you think. Patty, you and I are about on the same page with this. God. Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. I thought I was bad. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, indeed. Oh, that is so funny. Okay, well, it's Gavin Newsom. I'll tell you that much. Okay. This is a picture of Gavin Newsom. And I bring this one up. Gavin Newsom has started his own podcast. And he had the very first guest this week. And actually, I got to admit, I was surprised when I saw who it was. Gavin Newsom's first guest on his brand new podcast was Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA. All right. And they had a pretty wide, I mean, I didn't hear it. I've seen clips of it. They had a pretty wide-ranging discussion on different things. Okay. And I want to make sure I've got, oh yeah. Okay. I'm going to play you a couple of clips, and one sets up the other. Okay. This first one is pretty telling. So Charlie Kirk goes on Gavin Newsom, his podcast, for a conversation. And I want to play this one to set up the next one. Okay. Watch this.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect.
Were you a
Oh yeah, I
Manchin-
mean Bobby
Manchin
Kennedy
type?
I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because like they're on our team now because you guys kicked out like your best people. It's like the people that were in. This is a great point though, Governor. Is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get it out! He's an anti-vaxxer. Tulsi Gabbard, who was anti-war. Get her out! She's a Russian agent. You guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process, where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other. And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote. Because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, geez, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
Okay. I will admit Charlie Kirk is being a little cutesy here. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Sorry about that. Let's do that one more time. And I think I know how to fix this. All right. Once more from the top. Here.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect.
Were you a
Oh yeah, I mean Bobby
Manchin
Kennedy
type?
I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because like they're on our team now because you guys kicked out like your best people. It's like the people that were into. This is a great point though, Governor. Is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get him out! He's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, who is an anti-war. Get her out! She's a Russian agent. Yeah. Do you guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process? Where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other. And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote, because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, geez, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
Okay, I freely admit, Charlie Kirk, okay, then I'll have to start doing that going forward, apparently. Charlie Kirk is being a little bit cutesy here, okay? I freely admit that. But he's got a valid point. The Democrat Party does not want intellectual diversity. They don't. Now, I'm probably being a little bit simplistic when I say that. But it's true. Where are the voices of dissent inside the Democrat Party today? Name me. Okay, on the Ukraine war, give me a voice of dissent from mainstream Democrat thinking about what we ought to do about Ukraine. On government efficiency and cutting spending, give me a voice inside the Democrat Party that wants to see that happen. They don't. And Charlie's got a valid point here. Jardam. Welcome, my British friend. Glad you're here from across the water. They don't. They don't want diversity in the party. They don't want diversity of there is none. There is none. Oh, DC, I saw that comment. Hang on, dear. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Okay. They don't want any kind of intellectual diversity. They don't want different ideas. They want everybody to be lockstep, thinking the same thing, doing the same thing, etc. Okay. Now, that comment about the lack of diversity inside the Democrat Party, oh, yeah, totally, Gypsy, totally true. Totally true. Okay, I could give you Jim Himes on some issues. I could give you that one, dear. But most anybody else, outside of maybe Jim Himes or Fetterman or whoever else, no, there's nobody. There's nobody. Now, if you want to put that to the test, if you Democrats who are watching this live stream right now, and y'all know you do, you really do, okay? If you want to put that question to the test, is there an ideological litmus test of purity for the people in the Democrat Party? Okay? Let me show you one more clip. Let me show you one more clip and show you what happens when somebody in the Democrat Party gets out of line, okay? So again, Charlie Kirk is on with Gavin Newsom. He's the very first guest on Gavin Newsom's new podcast. Okay, cool. And they get into a discussion about men in women's sports. And this is the exchange that takes place. Check.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports,
Right.
that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy.
Notice what he just said. I completely agree with you on that. It's a question of fairness. It wasn't even that hard of a take, right? Now let's finish this. So here we go.
Easy to call out the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
Okay, so the take that Gavin Newsom had is not even that harsh or controversial. This was very even-handed, right? Okay. So, is there a purity test in the Democrat Party? Well, watch what happened. Now, keep in mind what Gavin Newsom said. Very mild indeed, right? Watch this. abcnews.go.com. Headline: California Governor Gavin Newsom breaks with party on transgender athletes in women's sports, sparking backlash. The Human Rights Campaign accused Newsom of trying to score political points. Article by Oren Oppenheim and Hannah Demisi. We have the following. Dateline Sacramento. In this first episode of a new podcast published Thursday, California Governor Gavin Newsom, an LGBTQ ally, broke with his party, saying that transgender athletes playing in women's sports seem, quote, deeply unfair. Quote, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It's an issue of fairness. It's deeply unfair, Newsom said on his podcast. This is Gavin Newsom. Newsom's comments came during a conversation with conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who leads the conservative group Turning Point USA and played a critical role in garnering youth support for President Donald Trump in the 2024 election. Newsom, sometimes viewed as a 2028 presidential hopeful, also agreed that the political ad that hurt former Vice President Kamala Harris the most in her presidential campaign was her previous support for providing taxpayer-funded gender transition-related medical care for detained immigrants and federal prisoners. Trump's campaign had played back her remarks in a widely circulated ad. Quote, she didn't even react to it, which was even more devastating, Newsom said. Newsom also pointed out his work in expanding LGBT rights while referencing current law in the state of California that allows transgender athletes to participate in school sports that reflect the gender that identify with. Okay. And a little bit further into the article. LGBTQ rights groups criticized Newsom's remarks, saying they all came amid national backlash to transgender individuals' their rights. The Human Rights Commission, a major national LGBTQ rights advocacy lobbying group, sent in a statement shared on social media that with discussions nationwide and legislations about restricting same-sex marriage and transgender rights, this is not a moment to sit politely in the face of authoritarian bullies or throw people under the bus for political posturing. Quote, singling out trans kids to score political points is never going to help someone pay their rent, keep Medicaid, or get a job, but it will make seem like California Newsom believes our civil rights are up for grabs. The organization wrote, Californians and all Americans need leaders who have courage in their convictions and who will show up for them in the faces of people who want to see all of us back in the closet. Yeah. There's no political litmus test in the Democrat Party. Oh, no, not at all. Not the slightest. Nope. Yeah. Just let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. A study came out that people who hack their genitals off have higher suicidal after the surgeries, to no one's surprise. Yep. Very true. Very true. Let's see. Trans committing unliving while girls get beat the shit out of during games. F you, Gavin, you sick a-hole. There you go. Yep. How the hell can you expect people of sound mind be judged if they don't agree with the delusions of a small percentage of mentally ill people? Oh, yeah, and Duke, I agree with you on this. Gavin Newsom's take was just very mild. Very, very mild. Yep, that's true, Jardom. That is absolutely true. By 5 hours. Yep. And this is, yep. You go do you, but don't flaunt it in my face. Expect me to agree and don't mutilate kids. There you go. But it just cracks me up. No. We believe in intellectual diversity. Gavin Newsom says something slightly out of line with current conventional thinking of the Democrat Party. Oh my, I'm telling you, he's running for president. He is absolutely running for president. Take it to the bank, folks. He's going to do it. Okay, that's about everything I've got this week for Front Porch Brunch. So we're going to go ahead and bring this train into the station. I want to thank you guys so much for being here this week. Thank you for all the memes, the contributions, the comments, everything. You guys are fantastic. I will be back this week with new videos, new live streams. I will be on Tracy Barkley's channel, Gen X Marks the Spot, this coming Wednesday night. We had a delay because of weather in her area. So we'll be back on her channel, 6 p.m. Eastern, but I'll be back with new videos, getting everything uploaded. And in the meanwhile, you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Remember, please hit the thumbs up on your way out the door. Thank you for everything you guys do. And as we sign off, as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys so much. Thank you and have a great afternoon and a great weekend. Bye.